Evening, everyone. I know it's a little late, but I had a couple of appointments this afternoon, so here we go. This is your closing comment for Thursday, the 6th of May, and it is video number 747. And we were at 7:45 this morning. 7:46 will be included tonight. I sent it out mid-morning when we put in the 100% up rule trigger, and I wanted everyone to see what the silver looked like. And that will be included on page 1 of tonight's closing comment in case you missed it. Okay, so we had a bunch of news this morning. As I'm sure everyone knows, initial claims down 92,000 to under 500,000, 498. And I mentioned it this morning, but pre-pandemic, this number was running around 256. So we're still running about double what we were pre-pandemic, but 498,000 initial claims is still moving in the right direction. Continued claims, 3,690,000. That's up 30,000. Productivity was plus 5.4. Expectations were 4.5. Unit labor costs were actually down 0.3 versus an expectation of up 1%. The Dow made another new high by a long shot. These numbers are getting awfully large, even though the percentage gains are not. Today we were up 318.19. That was less than 1%, 0.93%. And for the first time in 5 days, the NASDAQ actually turned positive. There was a big rally in both the NASDAQ and the S&P in the last hour or so of trading. And the NASDAQ actually finished up 50.42, only under 0.4%, but still up on the day after the worst decline since October, last 4 days. Advanced declines were 1.3 to 1 up on both exchanges. Volume was about unchanged from yesterday, which was a drop from the day before. Unfortunately, the small caps did nothing. The Russell was actually up 0.05, not percent, a nickel. And the transports were up just under 85, or a little over 0.5%. We had a bunch of earnings, and we had a couple of big bounces here today. The biggest surprise was after the earnings for Peloton. This morning we discussed how they were having a complete recall of their treadmill, and the stock was trading at around 80 or so, down about 3% after being down 16%. It then continued all the way back down to 78, so 120 to 78 since February. And the stock was around that range, around 80, 81 when the earnings came out. It actually dipped back down to about 79, and then they started talking about what they were doing and the recall and what the numbers actually are, and the treadmill only accounted for about 2% of revenues, and the stock just turned on a dime and took off and rallied from that low for the day of 78.12 to 89.29 and closed 88.41, and that was up 5.79 or 7%. I have kind of a different read on it. The stock is still very expensive. It's true. It Its PE is no longer 690 times. It's down to a tame 130 times, or at least it was when it was trading around 80. So 10% higher means it's probably about 143 to 145 times earnings. And, this is America, most litigious country in the world. And you can be sure that by the time the lawyers get through with it, this little 2% of revenues is going to end up costing this company $1 billion. Anyway, $1 billion. And that doesn't count the delays in getting it fixed, producing it, having the recall, etc. So we'll see how that goes. It's definitely one I'm on the stay away from side. Also, Uber, which had earnings and had Dara Khosrowshahi on this morning, and the stock this morning was about 49, down about $2. Or about 4%. And I discussed about the costs involved, and because of the driver shortage, Andrew Ross Sorkin was talking about a cross-town trip in an Uber yesterday that normally costs him $17 to $20, that cost him $55. So there's really a question of how far people will go. I know this really helps the company out. They'll attract more drivers, prices will come down. In the meantime, the stock continued lower from 49 and closed 46.65, down 453, or almost 9%. Beyond Meat missed top and bottom, double the loss that was expected, 111.49, down 755, or 6.3%. TWLO also a miss, or poor guidance, 301.12, down 31.60, or 9.4%. Priceline, Booking.com, formerly Priceline, had a beat. The stock at the end of the day had closed $22.79, down about $59 after the earnings rallied a bit, up to about 2,300, closed 2297.47, down 40, so came back about $20. Square beat top and bottom line. And the big discussion there was really about Bitcoin. Bitcoin, it turns out, was roughly 3.5 billion of 5 billion in transactions. And I know that sounds big, and it was big, but that's the total value of Bitcoin transactions. They only made $75 million on that $3.5 billion worth of sales. So this is pretty much a loss leader. And even though they beat, you know, they're just hoping that people are going to be drawn to their payment system so that they can have other services that actually make some real money. In any event, the stock had closed 223.96, down 791, and after the close, after the earnings came out, moved all the way down to 210. Came back to 230, closed 229.66, down $2.21, and we'll see how that looks tomorrow. The big turn was in ROKU, which also beat top and bottom. This is a stock that a week ago was 376, today traded as low as 272. Closed around 284, and once their numbers came out, the stock turned on a dime also, rallied all the way up to 310 and closed within 15 cents of there. So for the day, it closed 309.85, up 586, but that was still $37 off the low after the earnings report. And last but not least, we had the CEO of Norwegian Cruise Lines on CNBC today, bitching and moaning about what the CDC has said. And, to be honest, it is pretty extreme. I don't know anybody who really would want to go on a cruise and sit at a bar and have to literally take a sip of their drink and put their mask back on, and then take it down to have another sip and put it back on. And that's pretty much what the CDC said is going to be the case. The CEO of Norwegian said that they are booking tremendous numbers at higher prices, and that their situation is 100% vaccination of all workers and all cruisers. Um, you know, in theory, that sounds great, but let's remember that pre-COVID, there was still Legionnaire's disease. There was never a cruise ever where there was not some degree, in some cases, an extreme degree of food poisoning or some other mysterious virus that moved through a ship. So, I personally wouldn't go on a cruise. I know that, that may put me in a minority, but the market hated it. And the stock closed 27.81, down another $2.04. The other part of this equation is the fact that these companies have borrowed a ton of money. They've issued a ton of stock. And regardless of what their revenues and even earnings start to look like, these are companies that are not capitalized the way they were before. And it's going to be a long road back. So Norwegian says that they are starting to cruise in July, not from the US, from Greece and from Italy, and we'll see how that works for them. Okay, so the chart on the screen is the gold, and it's down about 80 cents tonight, which is not bad considering it was up $31 today. And you will see on that video that'll be posted on page 1 what that did to the silver. And I've been talking about riding this line, this blue line of the 20-day moving average, and how nice the consolidation was here. And I'm going to show you another chart, the silver, and I want you to remember something. This line is the volume and open interest. And this has been pretty flat here. It did move up coming off the bottom, and it has maintained it up here. And as you can see, the volume has picked up pretty nicely. Now, let's go back to the silver, and I'll show you what that looks like, seeing as that's where our position actually is. And while the gold is down about $1, really meaningless, the silver is down about a dime. And let's go to the alley, and you'll see this has a little bit better bent to it, meaning that, it really has been moving higher. And this is the area that I was talking about where I said it had to be bought. This break to the upside and pull back without breaking to the downside and being on top of all of the moving averages and seeing the open interest and the volume both building here is really been, I think, the key to this. So I think I said I thought we could get to the $28 area. I think we could go through that. Our options closed around $1.15. Our 100% up rule is at $1.36, and I will put that order in again in the morning. It may take a little while to get there, even days, but let's remember that these options run until 2 weeks from tomorrow. So the way that this has been moving and consolidating and pulling back and moving higher again and consolidating again, I feel pretty confident that we're probably going to see, a continued move higher in the silver. Bitcoin was down about 1,000 today, not really doing very much of anything. The oil was down 92 cents today, but that is also right back into support again, and it's up 16 cents tonight, which is, clearly nothing of any real import when you see we're just in this consolidation and also riding the 5-day moving average. Looks like it could come back in maybe as low as 63 and a half, 63 and 3/4. Currently 64.84. But I like the way that this chart looks too. The dollar was down 36 cents today. The bonds were up a little. The really impressive two charts that I just want to look at real quickly. I know we're running long, but I want to show you because I've been banging on them hard the last couple of weeks, even the last couple of months. Lumber, third day in a row. Limit up bid. Closed 1607.50, well above my 15 and a half area up here. No idea where it stops. I'm going to guess tomorrow is an expanded limit again. I expect we will start to see a little bit of a pullback like we started to yesterday, but did not quite get it done. And the other one is the coffee, and the coffee has just been tremendous. I have talked about this ad nauseum too. It was up $4.50 today after being up $9.50 yesterday, coming right out of the area that I pointed out at 140 for the support on Sunday night. And since then, we've moved 140 to 154. This is $750 a point. So a pretty nice move. And again, all of the moving averages pointing up. I want to give you a quick look so that you can get an idea of what this means in the grand scheme of things. I know it looks like an extreme move, but to me, it looks like only the beginning. We're just breaking out. I called this as probably 160. This is 160, so not much further up than where we are now. This peak in here is 176. So, in this neighborhood, 160, 165, I'm sure we'll be due for a meaningful pullback. But in the meantime, this market has just been terrific. Okay, everyone, tomorrow morning, 8:30, the April employment numbers, one of the biggest market moving numbers any month. So we'll see how that jibes with the ADP number yesterday and the continuing claims number today. Have a good evening.